LU Radio.
Hi, Ryan. This is Geoff Tate calling.
How's it going today, Jeff?
Hey, good. Sorry I'm late. Do you still have time?
Oh, no, I'm still have time. Absolutely. If you do, I'm good.
Yeah, good, good. I'm kind
Okay.
of running late today because they have like 17 interviews to do today, and they don't all, you know, speak quickly.
For sure. Well, makes for a busy day for you.
Yeah, it is. It's actually been a busy few weeks.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm really enjoying the new album, Kings and Thieves. Can we expect a video and possibly a vinyl version to be released?
Good question. Yeah. Well, the record company just released a lyric video for Dark Money off the
Yes.
album. It came out a few days ago, and it's just exploding at YouTube. It's got like 27,000 hits on it already. I don't think I've ever had a video that's gotten that kind of reception before. Um, so I think perhaps another video might be in order because of the success of this little lyric video. We'll see.
Absolutely. While in Queensryche, you were working on a solo album with original music and a themed solo album. What is the progress on the themed solo album?
Well, I'm hoping that one is my next one. I just finished this new one, Kings and Thieves, and I've honestly been really busy with putting together my tour, which starts next week, and so kind of focusing on that. But I hope to return to the studio work in a month or so.
For sure. Soon after Dedicated to Chaos was released, it was announced that you were already writing new music. Will some of this new music be used for a future project, do you know? Since obviously you're not with Queensryche right now.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Well, I write all the time. I'm a voracious writer, and I work typically 5 days a week. When I'm home off the road, and so I have a lot of material written. I have a lot of stuff to choose from. So yeah, perhaps in the future, yeah.
All right. Now you have a solo band and a solo touring band. Why isn't your solo band your solo touring band?
Well, everyone has different commitments to different things. The drummer, Greg Gilmore, who played on my record, couldn't do the tour with us because it conflicted with his schedule. So I enlisted the help of my old friend Doug McGrew, who was coming in and playing drums with us. But everybody else that played on the record is on the tour.
Very cool. Now, a couple of years back, when you, as Queensryche, did the Cabaret, the band got a fair amount of slack from it, from I guess some critics and fans. I thought it was a cool idea. However, did you ever approach Cirque du Soleil founder Guy Leppard to be involved?
Did I ever approach who?
Guy Leppard, the founder of Cirque du Soleil?
No, I never did. No. Yeah, I love that tour. That was one of the most enjoyable tours I've ever done. Really, really had a great time, great memories, worked with really talented artistic people. And, yeah, I think a lot of people really loved it. In fact, it was a pretty successful tour, actually.
Absolutely.
Everything you do, everything I've ever released creatively has come under fire from critics. It's just the nature of the game. Some people like things, some people don't. Some people understand things, some people won't. It's just the nature of the beast.
Can never please everyone.
No, you can't. And in given time, a lot of people relate to things differently. Like, for instance, Operation Mindcrime, an album we released back in the late 80s. When it came out, it was just panned critically. People hated it. They called it pretentious, overindulgent, all these different things. And in time, people came to really enjoy that record. And now it's considered, a classic Queensryche record.
On a similar topic, you've been known to write music to please yourself. When you are happy with the release, do you read reviews, and if so, does it bother you at all if a critic or a fan doesn't like the album, or are you okay with it as long as you are personally satisfied with the album?
Well, I don't typically read reviews, no. People hear music differently. They experience music differently. If you put somebody in front of an orchestra, some people are going to be able to pick out all the instruments that are played, and they can follow the melody lines and the rhythm structure. And other people are going to hear it as a wall of sound, And the same with lyrical topics, People relate to lyrics based upon their own life experiences. So if you haven't experienced what the writer is talking about, the song isn't going to affect you in the same way, For example, there was a record called Promised Land that we did several years ago. Again, another record that was, critically hated, And but given time, people now cite that record as being their favorite record. And the main central topic of the album is about, getting to the top of your career and wondering where to go next and having all these second thoughts and doubts about your abilities, right? Mm-hmm. Well, unless you've been in that position, you can't relate to those songs, So, yeah, you're not going to get it. But given time and with age, people sometimes experience those things that are on that record, and then they come to appreciate that record a lot more.
Oh, definitely, and I love Promised Land.
And I don't really expect people to like or understand everything I write or do. It's impossible, It's pretentious to believe that everything you do, people are going to accept, And it's not my job as a writer or artist to get people to accept it. It's my job to create it, and it's for other people to find it and to find how it affects them and how it applies to their own life.
Absolutely. Although Dedicated for Chaos isn't a concept record, the album does focus on our society depending on material objects as opposed to family values, so basically a person's wants more than their needs. Am I kind of correct here? Is that kind of how you wrote the album, kind of based it on?
Well, I like your idea.
Thank you.
I can see where some songs would point you in that direction. Honestly, for me, Dedicated to Chaos was really a collection of different kinds of songs. It was an album that was very similar to Empire, actually, in its construction and its content, really. Kind of a collection of a lot of varied types of songs, and a collection, really, and not really a pointed concept direction, really.
Fair enough. In the UK, Queensryche gave fans a chance to bunk in the tour bus with the band. This being a very intimate thing that most bands wouldn't do, did you find it to be an enjoyable experience that you would consider doing again?
Well, it definitely was an experience that I have fond memories of. It was definitely a intimate experience for fans. Definitely that they all seem to love and enjoy, and I see quite a few of those fans still when I'm on tour, and they still talk about what a great time they had. And it's because we did have a good time. We had a fantastic time touring around Europe and going to all these different sites, sightseeing, the shows every night. It was just a rolling party through the whole experience, for people. The most difficult thing about it was staying sober. Not necessarily for the band, but for the fans.
With the Mindcrime screenplay that you wrote for Mark Shepard, and knowing that you really wanted Max von Sydow to be Dr. X, was Max ever approached to be him if it was to be a screenplay, Mindcrime?
Yeah. Actually, I've been approached many, many times over the years to take Mindcrime to the big screen. And, for various reasons, it's never happened, primarily because of funding. Funding for a film is a very tricky business, and anybody that's been involved with it knows that it takes years to bring, an idea or a screenplay to film. But once we got close, Cronenberg came to us and was interested in making it, and he's the one that suggested Max, actually, for the role of Dr. X.
That would be awesome. Now, also, Pascal from Rent was also interested in Mindcrime coming to Broadway. Did anything ever come about with that?
Yeah, Adam is still actually working on the screenplay for it, and he sends me uh, drafts of it regularly. In fact, I just saw him in New York a couple months ago, and he was starring in Memphis, the musical, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
great, by the way. And we talked a lot about Mindcrime at that point. But yeah, he's still actively working on it.
Oh, hopefully. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would.
Have you ever asked anyone to appear on Mindcrime 1 or 2 that wasn't able to due to scheduling conflicts?
No, not really.
Now, Mindcrime 2 was originally talked about to possibly be a double CD. Was there a lot of extra material written?
No, it actually wasn't planned on being a double CD. It was planned the way it came out.
Okay, gotcha. And I know it was originally, way back in the day, there was talk about it being written to come out after Empire. Was a lot of the material from Mindcrime 2 or any of it written around the
Oh,
Empire Age time?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Actually, it was Mindcrime 1 open-ended with the idea that we were going to continue the story and finish it with another
Yes.
record. But at the time that we were about to start working on it, the band decided that they wanted to move in a different direction, and we ended up doing the Empire album. And we were going to come back to the Mindcrime thing, but things kind of changed at that point where, I think my mind and Chris's mind were kind of moving in a different direction, so we kind of shelved the idea. And we had begun working on it. I had, at least. I'd written out the outline for it and finished the storyline for it. But kind of worked on it over the years here and there, but it didn't really come to fruition until we recorded it. When was that? 2006, something like that.
Yeah. Now, why wasn't Peter Collins? Why didn't he produce Mindcrime 2?
I don't think we asked him, actually. I think we were kind of moving in a different direction and from what he was working on, and actually didn't really come up, I don't think.
Okay. Now, I know upcoming you're going to be in the movie House of Eternity and also a documentary program, The Nation, and another movie coming out, The Burning Moor Project. Now, are there release dates for these movies that you know of? 'Cause I'm really excited to see them.
Well, I think Programming the Nation has already come out.
Yes.
The Burning Moor Incident hasn't come out yet, but I think it's slated for sometime this next year. That's a real interesting film. Wow. Very, very, very unusual, actually. And I can't wait for people to see it because it's not what you expect. It starts one way and turns into something completely different, and it's very entertaining, very, very unique, I think.
Yeah, I read about it. Sounds pretty cool. You wrote 2 versions of I Take You for it also, is that correct?
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to that. Now on to Empire. Alex Lifeson was in the studio with you guys during the recording of Empire for the day. Was he asked to do a cameo or appear on the album at all?
No, we just had dinner. Actually, yeah. Well, he was good friends with Peter Collins, and they'd done several records together, and he was in the area. And so he came down to the studio. Actually, it was when we were mixing Empire. And so Alex came in, and we cleared out the recording room and set up a table and had it catered and had dinner served in the studio. And it was a really fun night. Very, Alex is quite a humorous guy, and he's got a great wit about him. And we had a wonderful evening. And probably drank too much, but that's what happens.
Now, do you know if Rob and Bruce get asked as much as you do about the project known as Trinity, Voices of Metal, and the Three Tenors? And if all 3 of you had the time and there was label interest, could this dinner conversation become reality one day?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I think that would be really, really fun, to do a project with those guys, because they're both incredible singers and great musicians, and actually I like both of them quite a bit. They're very different in their personalities, but I really like both gentlemen quite a bit. But yeah, they get asked that a lot. We all do.
Absolutely.
Do you know the story behind that?
I do, yes.
Yeah. About the dinner conversation?
Yep, I've heard that. You can tell it again, no?
Yeah, well, it was we were all touring together at the time, and we all went out to dinner, and we were at an Italian restaurant, and Rob Smallwood, the manager for Maiden, pulls the waiter over and says, "What's this music that's playing?" And it was opera music, and the waiter said, "Oh, it's the opera singers, the three tenors." And Rob stood up with a glass of wine, and well, he kind of staggered, and he raises his glass and he says, "I think we should make a heavy metal album with Bruce and Geoff and Rob and call it the Three Tremors. What do you think?" And we all laughed, fell off our chairs, and toasted. That was it. That was all. That was the extent of the conversation. And the next day, or within the week, it was all over the press, and we've been answering questions about it ever since.
Yeah.
It was like, I think this was 2000. So for 12 years, we've been talking about the three tenors, or three tremors.
Yeah, well, if it ever does happen, I wonder if it'll go by Trinity, Voices of Metal, Three Tremors, or maybe even another name at this point. It's been so long.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah.
I guess we'll just see what happens. Now, why did the band only shoot one video for Rage for Order?
Oh, probably budget reasons, I think. Back then, videos were incredibly expensive to make. $100,000, which is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, we hadn't sold that many records at that time, and we were a fairly new band and didn't have the money, to make one really.
Makes sense. Now, before Queensryche, you were in 3 bands at the same time: Myth, The Mob, and Babylon. Now, I know the Myth recorded original material. Did the other 2?
No. Well, actually, The Mob didn't, but Babylon did. Yeah, Babylon and Myth were all original music, and The Mob was really just a cover band. They were just covering other people's music at events and concerts around town.
Okay. Now, with The Warning being over budget and mixed differently by Val Garay, not by the producer James Guthrie, has there ever been talk of remixing the album? And supposedly there's a version out there, a cassette version that has a better sounding version of the original mix. Has EMI ever approached you about releasing these mixes?
No, never have. Yeah, there is a cassette rough mix that James did at the time, which was just kind of a rough mix to give us an idea of what songs would go where and all that kind of thing. I wouldn't say it's a better sounding mix at all because it's a cassette version, but it's definitely interesting to listen to, from a mix standpoint of, where things are in the mix and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that at some point, going back and remixing some of that older stuff and giving it more of a punch, because The Warning, you listen to it and it's kind of difficult to listen to that record, I think, for me at least, the way the guitar levels are and the vocal levels are, they're just all over the place. Didn't have a consistency to it at all.
Absolutely.
And which at the time, we were very disappointed with that. But being our first album, we didn't really have a choice in the matter,
Definitely. On that topic, I really like the album Here in the Now Frontier, but I found kind of the same. It sounded kind of flat on the mix side. Has EMI ever offered you guys the option to remix that?
No. Yeah, I agree with you. That record doesn't sound very good.
And the songs are pretty. There's some good songs on there for sure, but yeah, the mix in general, just the guitars and the drums don't just sound as good as they could. It sounds like it could have sounded better.
Yeah, it definitely could have sounded better. It was recorded very well, but the mix is not very good.
Absolutely. Now, Queensryche have toured with many, many, many bands back in the day. Something different was touring in the round with Def Leppard. How was that experience?
Oh, that was phenomenal. Yeah. Well, playing on a round stage is a whole different thing, than playing on a one-dimensional stage. So, yeah, you had to kind of really think about how you wanted to, work the stage and how to get around on it and how to remain on the stage, because you would actually get a little bit, turned around because the thing moved. So, yeah, it was definitely challenging, but a wonderful experience, and I really enjoyed that tour.
Absolutely. Now, supposedly Gene Simmons asked Queensryche to manage the band. Did you guys consider having Gene manage Queensryche?
He didn't ask to manage us. He wanted to produce a record.
Hmm.
Yeah, and actually we talked to him briefly about that at one time. I don't know why it never happened. Perhaps it was a scheduling issue. I'm not sure.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much for your time, Geoff. The interview made my week. It was very, very awesome to chat with you tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ryan, for all the questions. It sounds like you really did some homework and you knew a lot about the history, which I appreciate.
Thank you, Geoff.